estamos.
Ya está.
Hello, good morning. ¿Nos contesta bien? Good morning. This is TrainMoS II. This is a TrainMoS II module that will be developed by the Technical University of Madrid. Please let me introduce myself. I am Professor José Luis Almazán from the Technical University of Madrid, professor of ports since a long time. Actually, 1974, that's really a long time. Now we did participate in the development of a TrainMoS concept, and we are extremely pleased that Dr. Vangelos from Glasgow University has developed this TrainMoS II module, in which several European countries in a coordinated way are developing this very interesting module and postgraduate package that I hope will find development in the next future and will be in the benefit of all seafarers and personnel linked to the maritime and port industry in Europe and other places also. Europe is almost an island because it has 3 of its sides are covered by the sea, and maritime traffic is absolutely essential for its development and maintenance of its commercial activity. Only one side, the eastern side of Europe, is connected to the eastern countries, but a large part of our commerce is developed by sea. Commerce by sea first of all, ships are needed for sure, but to facilitate the commercial activity, ports are used and port installations to facilitate good movements by ships, carried by ships. Now, a very interesting concept of TrainMoS was to be able to recognize that the human element is a need of the system to work. For sure, movement of goods by sea needs ships, and we will discuss about materials of ships, dimensions of ships, ways to move the ships, energy used by the ships, but also how to move the goods from the ship to land and from land the ship. But the infrastructures, that's to say, both infrastructures in the port system and infrastructures to facilitate the movement of goods in the land system, that is to say, lorries, railways and inland navigation, besides pipelines and minor activity of cable movement of goods. But something that, because it's so obvious, has not been recognized for a long time, is that the key part of all the system is the human element. Without persons, the system cannot work at all. Now, once recognizing that infrastructures need people to make them operative and to permit the system to work, we come to the considerations around persons. In Europe, there is an important concept, and that is to consider people first. The same as in the sea, people are in the first place. Now, the life at sea is quite difficult, and there is a big problem with seafarers, because while young people are quite happy to spend part of their lives at sea, as they develop families and they come to ages in which the need of adventure and of traveling is not so high, they look for positions on land. On the other hand, movement of goods and relations between the land system linked to the sea system is important to be developed by people that at least are able to talk to each other in the same language. That is one, not to say the principal aim of training motorways of the sea, of TrainMoS program. Motorways of the sea, we will come back to this concept, that we would like it to be considered as the maritime link of Europe, of the core transport network of Europe. But maritime transport, motorways of the sea, need of a good understanding of ships, ports, and inland transport means, and a common language of the human element operating both at sea, both on land, and definitely in the border between land and sea, and that is mainly the port installations that developed and find their place in what has been historically known as ports. But life moves quickly, technology develops extremely quickly in these last years, and things have changed a lot. Port installations in the 21st century have little, not to say nothing, of what were in the 19th century and definitely in the 18th century and before. But because the size of ships has been almost at their limit for some 100 of years, from the Roman and Greek times of the 3 rows of rows in wooden ships, the maximum dimensions of ships have been quite stable for almost 2,000 years. So the port infrastructure has been stacked to that dimensions. But since the Industrial Revolution, the use of iron in ships, things are being developed very, very fast, very fast. Now, the concept of motorway of the sea, we would like it right from the beginning to be understood as the whole system of short sea, what was known in Europe for a number of years as short sea shipping, and the port connection and the management of the massive freight transport elements used on land to move goods towards the port area or the port installation area. Then we will come back to this point during this module of our course, And in this TrainMoS II program, the Technical University of Madrid, together with the aid of a number of professors of our university and of invited guests who are in distinguished positions in the professional system moving the goods in our country, will be so kind as to come here and talk to us. Our module, the title of our module, or the part of the module in this TrainMoS II program is Port Energy Operations and Clean Power Investment Analysis. Now, in the port system on the 21st century, energy is a main driver, together with environmental aspects. So energy and environmental considerations are key elements to be considered when discussing about how to improve and how to manage crossing of goods within the port system, both from the sea part and from the land part. And that is one of the main objectives of this module of TrainMoS II. That is to pay particular attention to energy aspects within the port system. As we will see during these next days, in the maritime environment, a new fuel is arising as a key element. We will come back to it, but as many of you listening to me are imagining right now, I am talking about natural gas, but natural gas in a quite unusual way, because a gas is not a liquid, but we will be talking of liquefied natural gas, which is a quite curious thing, because if it is a gas, it is not a liquid, and if it is a liquid, it is not a gas. But actually, it's a gas that is stored in liquid form, so that its volume is reduced about 600 times, which is a lot. So large amounts of energy can be stored in small containers. And this appears to be a quite cheap, environmentally friendly, and abundant energy. So high consumption centers, as without any doubt, maritime transport and shipping and port activity and land transport associated to it will use most probably this new fuel, but this new fuel needs the development of adequate infrastructure and of adequate training of the people, both on board and on land, associated to this completely new product in the maritime industry. It is not at all a new product for the industry, because natural gas as a source of energy has been used for many years. And for example, in Spain, since as far away as 1969, we are using as a source of energy and storing gas in natural gas in liquid form, because unfortunately Spain has not developed a big net of pipelines to be able to distribute gas in gas form. Now, we are not only going to present energy considerations in ports and in the port associated environment, that is to say, in shipping and on land transport elements, mainly trucks, huge trucks, railway traction, and other means, and definitely inland navigation. Unfortunately to Spain, inland navigation is not so relevant in our country, but definitely it's a relevant element of land transport in Europe. Our module is we will try to deal with different aspects and considerations of operations and actions linked to the recently approved in Europe directive known as the Clean Power Package. Within our module, we will pay particular attention to energy considerations in port operations, as well as in shipping and in land transport. Definitely, after coming to these energy considerations, we will pay attention to energy logistics, to energy supply, both to ports and port activities and inland transport associated to port activities, together with shipping. Particular attention will be paid to this new form of liquid gas, natural gas as a liquid, moved and stored as a liquid, LNG, liquefied natural gas. Also, there are other types of gas used as a liquid, propane, butane, and many other sources of energy. Definitely electricity, but we have to remember that to use electricity beforehand, it has to be produced, and to produce electricity, normally you either burn coal or burn fuel or burn gas, or use hydraulic power or wind power or sun power, sun energy, or different ways of producing electricity. But electricity, once produced, is a clearly environmentally friendly source of energy. And because ports develop their activity in the proximity of cities, the relation between ports and cities is becoming more and more important. Moreover, old quays and port installations, which cannot be used nowadays because of the size of ships for massive freight movements, appear in many cases to be very close to the cities. So these areas are areas of enormous value to the city itself, and a completely new area of responsibility in littoral cities with ports are those related to the port and city relationships, which in many cases require particular attention, but are on the analysis of what is being done in different ports in the recent years proves my words to be true. The very, very important new concepts associated to urbanism and city development within port areas. We can think about, and we come back to them during this course, to cities such as Barcelona, where with the occasion of the Olympic Games, the city turned its view towards the sea, and looking to the sea, the city experienced a complete transformation. What is quite interesting about the Barcelona case is that the old urbanist network of the city fitted perfectly with the maritime design, being both sides have been developed by completely different concepts. We will come back to this very, very interesting example within this module of TrainMoS II. Recently, cities such as Malaga, where Pompidou Center has been inaugurated right yesterday, or Valencia, where even a high-speed racing court for Formula One cars is being deployed within the port itself, in the center of the city of Valencia. And this type of considerations can be extended within the Iberian Peninsula to many ports, to Vigo, Bilbao, but also to our next country, to Portugal, Lisbon, Oporto, where the relations between the port and the city are key aspects. Now, within the rest of Europe, the problem is also the same, and the relations between the city and the port in Piraeus in Greece, or in Genova, Civitavecchia in Italy, London with the old wharves is a beautiful example, or what's going on in Gothenburg in Sweden, or in many, many other examples of that. Naturally, within this module developed by the Technical University of Madrid, we will focus in Spain, but these aspects involve all the European port system, and every single important port in Europe, which is close to a city that has found the reason of its development within the port area, have important port and city considerations to be developed. Europe has recently approved the Clean Power Package. The Clean Power Package establishes certain considerations to facilitate the use of new energies, electricity, hydrogen, gas, natural gas, among others. For the massive freight transport needs with maritime arcs within the full transport system, from logistic platform to logistic platform, because in the new considerations, a port can be considered as a logistic platform. Dry ports, new port installations do not need to be close to the quay line. They may be far away. Moreover, the new port storage areas need high quantities of large amount of square meters to be developed, and a territory close to the quay line, close to the sea, are expensive and difficult to obtain. So it is a quite recent development, the concept of dry port, in which the storage area is far away, even hundreds of kilometers away from the quay line. And that does not mean those are not important port areas. Dry ports, as they are called in many places, are actually an important part of the port itself, and they definitely need the human element to operate, and the human element operating dry ports have to have a sound knowledge of shipping and of freight transport considerations. So, clean power package for different energy sources, hydrogen, electricity, but particularly for liquefied natural gas, where deployment of an infrastructure of supply has to be developed every 400 kilometers within the core network, transport network in Europe. There is a lot of things to be done, because at the time being, the demand of supply of this new form of energy for transport is not sufficiently developed, and it is quite difficult to provide an infrastructure to supply this new source of energy, this new fuel, if there are not enough consumers of it, if there is no demand. But on the other hand, it's difficult for a ship owner to decide to use this new and cheap clean source of energy if the ship owner cannot rely on being able to receive the supply of the fuel that his ship will need in the future. So it's out of the question that a link and something has to be done. And when something has to be done, that is known as politics. Politics in Europe, transport policy in Europe is definitely betting to support the development of a new net to supply this new form of energy. The drivers of the transport policy in Europe are definitely, as I already commented, energy, environmental considerations, but also technologies linked to the information and communication activities, TIC. Now, energy, TIC, and environmental considerations are three drivers which are completely moving the new port infrastructure for facilitating the massive freight transport in Europe. When a port area close to a port city begins to make a massive use of information and communication instruments, that is very much linked to this new concept being developed all over Europe known as smart city. But the smart city using technologies of information and communication to make the city smarter are developed within smart territories, what's known from the port's point of view as the smart hinterland. And the smart hinterland close or that includes the smart cities are in the area of what is already known and will be known in the near future even more as smart ports. Smart ports with smart port installations being managed by a smart human element that has necessarily to be in a continuous process of enlarging their knowledge. And to supply this need is why TrainMoS concept was put on top of the table. Human element needs continuous training at different levels, at professional level, both on land and at sea, but also at graduate level, at master level, and definitely at the highest university level, which is the motor of development linked to research, and that is the doctorate, the PhD level. So knowledge from PhD level going down to master, graduate, and professional education needs to be developed in a continuous formation process. Using this new energy or fuel product, which is liquefied natural gas at minus 164 degrees centigrade. It is not a dangerous product, but definitely you have to be careful with it. So you need a particular training for these people. Also, port terminals helping to move in an efficient way freight transport for a better living of people in Europe need a specialized training. And during this module, we will pay particular attention to this way of using the new energy within the port installations. Also, we will have to analyze the particular needs of different types of port terminals. It's quite clear that moving massive freight transport has different needs if we are talking of liquid bulk or dry bulk or containers. But even if we are considering, for example, containers, the energy demand is completely different for reefer containers than for normal containers. So if we are paying particular attention to energy considerations within the port infrastructure, reefer container areas will need particular considerations. What to say about passenger ships, ferries, or cruise ships with completely different needs, not only from the point of view of the physical infrastructure itself, but also the package of knowledge of the managers of those services, both at sea and on land. And also a very important aspect to take into consideration are those linked to safety and security within the whole port area, including its hinterland, and within the installation itself. So ISPS code is something that it's also a new driver of port infrastructure with a specific needs from the training point of view for the human element completely different when we are talking about passenger areas or dry bulk areas or liquid bulk areas or fishing and linked to fishing areas. But even within fishing, nothing to do day fishing with high seas fishing. We'll come back to this point because energy needed around fishing industry and around the transformation of fishing is quite important. But not only fishing, also algae, an old product with a large tradition of use for many, many years in many, many countries, but forgotten in many areas and seen as a source of energy and of matter for the future. That is algae, both monocellular and pluricellular, green and brown algae that use the sea as their element to develop and that have been responsible of the production of the oxygen that permits life on our planet and that are the main source of input to consume the CO2 gas produced in the industrial areas. And that has to be processed so as life to be able to be maintained in our planet. We will come to these very important considerations during our module under the responsibility of the Technical University of Madrid within this very interesting TrainMoS II program, which is the natural continuation of the TrainMoS concept and TrainMoS program that established a very successful knowledge of platform of knowledge that is being used by many, many technicians and politicians within Europe and among other countries, particularly of particular interest to Spain, those countries in Latin America which share with Spain a common language, which is Spanish. Fishing ports and fishing activities is something that needs specific knowledge, and it will find its place within this TrainMoS II module developed by the Technical University of Madrid. In the old times, we were talking about transport from port to port, and that was the short sea shipping in Europe. But now, the motorways of the sea concept has been developed, including the short sea shipping considerations within the much larger concept of motorways of the sea. Energy considerations within the system must include not only the shore shipping part of the motorways of the sea, but the whole motorways of the sea link. That means from logistic platform to logistic platform, including naturally the port area. Transport needs from the logistic platform to the distribution areas is a completely different transport program, and problems associated are different. The sizes of trucks, elements, investment needs are different. We, in these motorways of the sea program, will be paying attention to the massive freight transport needs from logistic platform to logistic platform, with energy considerations, environmental considerations, and the massive use of technologies of information and communication. In the port areas, logistics of supply of LNG are essential, and traditional bunkering will move. I am not able to say at this time at what speed from conventional bunkering of heavy fuel oil and medium diesel oil to LNG. As in the past, coal supply was at first, at the beginning, complemented by fuel, liquid fuel supply. The old times, port areas dedicated to provide with coal as fuel to ships moved to the supply of liquid diesel and heavy fuel oil later, with completely different needs and different training of the human element in charge of bunkering operations. Not to say that in the very old times, energy and power to move the ships was supplied either by people oaring, which needed a lot of energy and water to this manpower, or by wind, which also needed large quantities of manpower to develop the sail operations during navigation. Manpower is becoming less in number within shipping, but on the other hand, on land operations and on information and communication technologies, manpower needs are growing. So it's a useful thing to look in an integrated way manpower needs both at sea and on land, and to try to establish and develop knowledge platforms in which communication between seafarers and land personnel and land operations are linked, and people from the sea can go to work on land and vice versa. Although experience says that normally young people are quite happy to work at sea, but as they become aged, they want to move to land working positions. So, from the training point of view and from the continuous training programs, this integrated vision of sea and land is quite reasonable, and that is what the concept we are developing in this TrainMoS program, training motorways of the sea at all different levels, from professional education to research and PhD level, using the very fruitful cooperation between different universities in Europe. It's a high interest in these very specialized areas to develop cooperation between specialized personnel and professors of different universities. In this TrainMoS II program between Scotland in the United Kingdom and Greece, Italy, Spain and Portugal, following the very fruitful cooperation of former TrainMoS program between Sweden, Germany, Scotland, the United Kingdom, and the same Greece, Italy, Spain, and Portugal, bringing together different points of view from northern countries and from southern countries with common knowledge needs in many, many aspects. Now, this port energy operations and clean power investment analysis is part of the program that is being developed, coordinated by our good friends in the University of Strathclyde. Already, the University of Hanover has developed the module related to maritime sustainability and motorways of the sea. Our colleagues from Portugal are dealing with port planning, infrastructure management, and alternative fuel supply. In Greece, the National Technical University of Athens is dealing with risk-based methods for new fuel technologies, including LNG and hydrogen. We are dealing with port energy operations and clean power investment analysis. And finally, University of Strathclyde will develop the part of the module within course 5 of energy efficient operations, including safe return support, and crisis management. We are very, very happy to be able to cooperate and participate in this important program that we hope will be of interest not only to those students who are following us from Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Scotland, but from other points of Europe, and we hope to have some students listening us at some time, either in streaming or later on from other countries not participating directly in this interesting TrainMoS II program. Thank you very much for your attention. And after this long introduction of our module and presenting the main ideas that are guiding the program that we will develop in 4 daily sessions within the next 10 days of the next 2 weeks, running from today till Friday, 6th of November. So we invite all of you to follow us during today, Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, and during the 5 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week till the 6th of November, as I already said, in 4 daily sessions beginning at 9:30. We are open to provide all of you that ask us to join or to be able to follow this course, this module, which is co-financed by the European Union within the Trans-European Transport Network. We are very grateful to the European Union to be helping the 5 universities involved in this TrainMoS II program, and thanks to this co-financing of the European Union, this course is being developed, and the TrainMoS knowledge platform, which was also co-financed by the European Union, finds continuity, and the human element linked to motorways of the sea and to the different elements needed in the motorways of the sea system to work, that is to say, ships, ports, port installations, and massive freight transport systems such as lorries and lorries companies and railways and inland transport systems, together with logistic platforms and associated activities to logistic platforms, need to operate in an efficient way in the benefit of not only of the people living in Europe, but of the whole of the persons, because we must continuously remember that commercial activities bring wealth both to production and delivery areas, as well as to the areas where the goods are received. And commerce is moved by slight differences of value within different geographical areas. And it is very, very important to develop systems that are able to create these differences in friction costs within the system, to be able to mobilize larger amounts of goods in the benefit of people. Thank you very much for your attention to this first introduction session. Thank you. ¿Quién nos ha seguido? Si es que nos ha seguido alguien. ¿Se sabe quién nos ha seguido?